Alright, so hopefully I get better at these videos as we go. This is Captain's Log Day 1. We have 6 days until we have to be fully moved in. I'm in here today to do insulation. So, yeah, this is Tina. I have the bed lifted up because I'm going to be putting some insulation under there. There's a space between the outside wall and the inside storage area, so that I'm going to do off. And under here, under the dinette area, there's a water tank that also has access to the outside, so that I'm going to insulate off. We're doing this because we're going to be full-time in this over the winter, so it's going to be really cold. I'm going to try to insulate everything that I can, and then we got an entire cover for the outside to hopefully help break the wind. We'll see how all this goes, and I'll do a couple more videos as we get going. Alright, so I'm in here under the bed. Hopefully these hydraulics don't give out and lock me under here. But this is the space that I have to work with. There's a little separator in between that doesn't really serve much purpose except for to separate the outside storage stuff, which is your hoses and etc., from your inside storage under the bed, which is, we're going to be putting a lot of stuff under here because it's 2 people full time, so there's going to be a lot of storage under here. So what I want to do first is move this separator back. It's just got some screws in it, and I've got my handy dandy little Black & Decker screwdriver with a light on the front of it, which is awesome. I'm going to get these screws out of here, move this back, and then I'm going to insulate the outside portion so that it stops interfering with the inside storage. Alright, so I pulled that little separator out from under the bed. The bed did not fall on me, so there's a plus. I have 3 different types of insulation. I have the spray foam, which is like a small controlled spray foam for around edges. I have this foam, which I hope I don't blind you with this, but it is just block foam with reflective siding to it. And I also have the reflective bubble foam for other things, and I also have to get some pipe insulation for the tank hoses underneath the trailer. We plan on putting hay bales under the trailer. I've gotten mixed reviews about that one. Some people say it's the best way to insulate, it's the cheapest way to insulate, but also mice. But whatever. Here's Tina's outside. I also found that the brackets that I took that little separator out from fit that foam insulation with the reflective sides. So instead of building a new wood insulator, or wood separator I should say, since that didn't go all the way to the top anyway, and it was just kind of a makeshift separating line, it didn't really like close off the storage, I'm going to make it out of foam so that it insulates and also move it back. So great. Alright, here we are back under the bed again. As you can see, there is the access to the outside, and the floor is dirty, so I'm really gonna clean this before everything's all said and done. But I have my piece of styrofoam here that I measured. I'm gonna put the reflective surface towards the inside. The theory there is that the heat will reflect back in. That's my hope. But as you can see, I measured it really well. It fits under there pretty perfectly. The only problem is it doesn't go all the way across. So there's a little piece with the piping there that I'm actually going to cut a smaller piece to fit across. I'm going to put wood backing on this. I decided to put wood backing on it. That way it stays a little more stable, and I'm going to use that foam insulation in a can to seal these tiny cracks along the bottom where it doesn't fit flush with the floor. Of course, I'm going to clean the floor first to make sure that that's not the problem, but I still think I should put the foam insulation around it anyway. So there we go, big step. I'm going to use this piece as a template to cut about 2 or 3 more pieces, and that way I can have a nice thick sturdy wall of insulation around all the way around the bed piece between the outside and the inside. Now I have the pieces of insulation in under there where I want them. I decided instead of brackets that duct tape was going to work better, just to keep the insulation flush with the edges and hold it in place until I can seal it from the other side. So this is what it looks like. Oh, I also clean the floor. This is what it looks like. So there's my little shim sham piece that I just kind of put in there, duct tape to the longer piece that I originally had, which goes all the way across. These are duct taped into the corners to hold them safe. There's a tiny space between this and the piece of the bed that opens up. And also, rule number 1 I'm learning quickly, make sure you have all your tools with you that you need so you don't have to crawl in and out from under the bed a million times. I'm still under the bed, but I'm going to go from the other side and seal it on the back side now. Now I'm back outside the trailer. I closed the bed down so it would fit flush with the insulation. This is what it looks like from the outside port. You can see everything fits flush there. And I'm going to seal it, all the flexible areas, so flexible areas being the part where the bed bends up and down, and around this pipe here. This just holds a piece of piping to the outside here. I'm going to wrap that in the foil bubble wrap, which is this stuff here, so that it can actually move a little bit. But the pieces that are touching the floor, I'm going to spray that foam spray insulation along the edges. So anything that's fixed that won't be moving, I'm going to spray that foam insulation on so that it creates a nice seal. Here's what it looks like. So I have my bubble foil insulation here, and I've pushed it up against the seams. You can see all along the bottom here is where I'm going to spray my foam insulator spray so that it seals it across the cracks. I've also pushed it all the way up against here, and I'm going to do some more. This side needs a rigid piece of foam. I'll be putting that in there. The other side has one in it. And then as soon as I have that rigid piece of foam in here, here's my duct tape holding my foam in place. You're really going to want duct tape. This is kind of terrible without it. Put my foam insulation piece here, seal up the cracks. And this top piece is what I meant by the flexible piece. So there's a seam here, I don't know if you can see that, where when the bed opens, this is the piece that flexes. And so I don't want to nail or adhere this bubble packaging insulation to the piece that flexes, but instead I'm going about 1/2 inch out, and I'm using these teeny tiny little finish nails to nail in the top piece so that it stays into the wood. And so I'm going out to the edge, kind of right about here. And nailing it up into that piece. So this will stay tight, holding that up there, but won't take away the flexibility of the wrap and the bending piece of the bed. Okay, well that was a lot and a giant pain in my ass. Just because I'm not a good measurer. And the layer between the bed and underneath the bed is really thin, so I decided to put some reflectant bubble sealant under that as well. And that turned out to be the worst part of it. So now I'm going to use the foam sealant to seal all these cracks all the way around. So here's what it looks like. And the foam sealer we bought is just the Great Stuff spray on foam. I'm going to fill in the gaps and show you what it looks like afterwards. Alright, well as you can see, I filled that hole with the spray insulation. It's kind of messy stuff. Make sure you follow the instructions, shake it, wear your eyeglasses, etc. But no light coming in. It's sealed all the way around, so that's great. Right along that white wall there, in the same area as the foam spray is where I'm going to put this reflective bubble insulation. I just, that foam insulation takes 15 minutes to become not sticky and 8 hours to completely cure. So I'm not going to stick this in there until that's fully hardened, so that I can avoid any issues with it making a mess and not sticking to where it's supposed to. So I'm just going to leave that foam bubble there for a few. Here is the big insulation piece that I pre-cut using the other one as a template, so it fits right in there like that. And then I take my big wooden particle board piece. I'm gonna lay it down on top. Also hard to do with this camera in my hand. We'll manage. So I'm just gonna lay this down on top of it. Again, snug fit. If I were to stand on this, I'm completely standing on it. It's not crushing the foam. It's not pushing down in the middle. It should be fine for people sitting on it if it can take my full weight standing in its weakest point. And then I'll put the cushions back on just like this side, and I think I'll call it a day.